Okay, perfect. First, I'll say good afternoon to everyone and anybody who may be listening later from across the country. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen in and maybe inquire, ask questions. I know how your schedules can be, and so that investment of time is really meaningful. My name is Dan Connors, and I'm the Chief of Munitions Officer Force Development here at the Pentagon. And I do appreciate the chance to connect with you because as a very small career field that we are, we honestly struggle to get some of our members out into the commissioning sources, whether that be an ROTC detachment or the academy, just to get the bodies out there to represent the career field and allow us to engage with cadets and individuals and be able to answer questions. Just something that's hard to do when you only have so many in your population. So this opportunity that we were offered is really valued. So thank you for that. Today, I want to first go quickly over my career, just as a snapshot, as an atypical experience, perhaps atypical being 2 words, not atypical being 1 word. And then I've got a couple slides, a total of 7, that were put together by company grade officers when we asked them to put some slides together that could potentially be there for engagements for individuals connecting with detachments. And then I'll close with just some of my own thoughts for you, and then be available for questions if you happen to have any. So without a further ado, here's me. My commissioning source, I was a ROTC graduate from the University of North Carolina, so go Heels, as we are now firmly in March Madness. And my first assignment, I joined, and one of the things I wanted to do is to see the world. And because of that, my first base was 4 hours south in South Carolina. So I went to Shaw Air Force Base. Then from there, I've served at Kunsan Air Base, Korea, so finally got out and about. And then my follow-on from my short tour was in Misawa Air Base, Japan. And while I was there, I also had an opportunity to deploy, and I did about 8 months in Iraq. And then I taught at our schoolhouse, which is our technical training, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Went to Shepherd, and then went to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, and I did about 2 years there, a little over 2 years. And then I went to Lakenheath, and then I was there for just a year because I then had an opportunity to go to school. And so I PCS to Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama for Air Command and Staff College. And then I went back to Lakenheath for 3 more years. So in total, I did four recent years in the United Kingdom. And then finally to where I'm at now at the Pentagon. So that's just a little snapshot of a journey. I only share that to show kind of what a career or an experience could be for you. Okay. What do 21Ms do? Now, these are the slides, like I said, that our company grade officers put together. So I'll just kind of go over those. First, what we want to emphasize is, as a munitions officer, you're going to have the opportunity to lead large teams of airmen within various disciplines, meaning different types of jobs. And then you're going to be integrating logistics and maintenance activities across either nukes, conventional, or ICBMs. And all 3 are opportunities, and you will likely get a chance to do all 3. They closely team with pilots, our air crew, and our missile operators to guide critical functions affecting the transportation, the supply chain management, and production operations to generate the lethality that we need as a force in pursuit of our national objectives. Now, that's a lot to say. What you're doing is you're connecting with our warfighters, the folks that are actually delivering engagements. And what you're doing is you're in that connection, you're making sure those requirements and what they need are synchronized with what's available and helping them plan with the realities of the situation on the ground, and then carrying their requirements back to the enterprise to see if we can't change those scenarios. So you're heavily involved with that planning and that mission generation aspect. To be a 21M, one of the things that you'll get to do is you'll possess a top secret clearance. That is a requirement of the career field. So you'll go through that check, which is some paperwork and an interview. Isn't too big of a deal in terms of like getting across the threshold. Like there's, just it's a standard process that you go through. If you're going into a surety location, which is like a nuclear location, which is part of our career field, then you may or may not then be engaged with the PRP. And the minimum requirement is just a bachelor's degree to be a 21M. So there's no limit in terms of you have to have a certain engineering degree or whatnot, because at the root of all this is just leadership. We want folks that are interested in leading airmen. They want to go in and shape and change lives, and be out front to help the mission and help those individuals grow as well. So perspectives of a lieutenant. So some of our lieutenants gave us some thoughts about what they do on a day-to-day basis. That's where we got this slide. And so first they wanted to share that you're going to be leading from day one, anywhere from a section that could be 10, 15, 20 members, or a flight that could be 150, 200 members. I know for me, my first job, I had 206 members that were in my flight. So right out of the gate, right out of school, you're going to be leading large formations of airmen, which is a huge advantage. And not many career fields get an opportunity to do that. And this is definitely one. Job fluidity and the ability to tackle problems as you see fit with your team. You're going to make decisions, right? You're the leader of that organization. You're going to have a chance to make decisions, and you're going to have a chance to grow through that process, because some of your decisions are going to be great, and some of them are going to are needing some refinement, and that's perfect. So you're going to be able to make calls and see things evolve right in front of you as you make those decisions. You get to go TDY. TDY means a temporary duty. So you get to leave your base and go somewhere else. So for example, at my last job, I sent people, I was at England, right? I sent people to Norway. I sent them to Italy. I sent them to Germany. I sent them to the Netherlands. I sent them to Denmark, right? And they would go for sometimes a couple days, sometimes a couple weeks, and they would come home. So lots of opportunities to go TDY. Hey, job satisfaction, you'll be a manager of people, leader of people, and then you'll be dealing with some pretty cool things too. So, whether that be a standoff missile, a bomb, the things you get to touch are pretty neat. Not something that, that everybody gets to be around every day. It's a close-knit community. Like I said, it's a small career field. It's only like 350 people total, which means that you really get a chance to have a personalized experience in the Air Force. Some of the bigger career fields, they do their best. I won't say they're not doing their best, but it's just harder given the time of and the amount of folks that is available. We really get to know our people and know their situations, know their desires, their hopes, and we get to connect all those things, or at least try our best to connect all those things. Lots of civilian job opportunities after. First, that TS clearance, that's something. Not everybody gets that. Plus a loaded resume, and I'll talk to some of those finer points, and a logistics background. So munitions is firmly a logistics AFSC. And then finally, they said, hey, every day brings a new challenge, and it's not the same every day. And that's really true. When you walk in the gate, you could come in the morning and you find out, hey, what's happened last night? What's the priorities of the day? It's really fluid and dynamic. So you get a new adventure every day, whether that could be in the human domain with those airmen who, have need development, need to be taken care of. Or it could be in terms of the mission, i.e. the phone rang and we now have a mission and we only have a certain amount of hours to respond or get what we need to the flight line or put a system on status. And so those are things that, every day is absolutely an adventure. Where are we? Where do we serve? So on the left-hand side, you can see CONUS locations. What that means is stateside, basically, and OCONUS meaning overseas. And you can see there's a fair mix of locations where we are. So I'll kind of pause a second so you can read those on your own. Okay. So opportunities as well. So training, our officers, when they come in, they're going to go to Shepherd Air Force Base, and that's in, it's basically Oklahoma, but it's really North Texas. And they're going to be there for their tech training. So they'll go through their class, which will be a fundamentals course. And then depending on where their first base is, they'll either go to our conventional officer course, our nuke officer course or our ICBM officer course. And that's just based on where they go on their first assignment. If they get assigned as a nuclear MESO, they'll go back through an accountability course. All of our munitions officers have to go through AFCOMAC, and that's the Combat Ammunition Production School. There's some really cool videos on YouTube if you want to search AFCOMAC, and that's where you get some massive munitions production experience. So to build a frag, it's pretty aggressive. It's a really great class. And then in an intermediate level, so usually about the 4 to 8 years of experience, you'll go back through either NICMOIC, which is down at Shepherd for a few weeks, or potentially our weapons school, which is at the Advanced Maintenance and Munitions Officer School down at Amos, which is at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada. Special experiences. So hey, you get a chance to do other things, not specifically just within the career field as well. So you'll have a broadening opportunity. So education with industry, those could range from, working at Apple or working at, one of our national laboratories. There's lots of opportunities within there, and they try to match your desires and the career field's desires. So there's chances to get out and go do something just completely different. Career broadening. There's opportunities to go be a logistics readiness officer or an aircraft maintenance officer or something else. Again, just things you can apply for given the different benchmarks in your career field. Also, advanced academic degrees. There's AFIT, which is the Air Force Institute of Technology, which is a right pat. There's classes that we can put officers through. So, hey, if you want a free master's degree, and you want to do it on the Air Force's dime and time, you can apply to AFIT and get an assignment to Ohio, and you're just basically a student. And I think that's a really good deal. And then also, through your professional military education, like Air Command and Staff College, you can also get a master's degree there. Positions, you can work in the flight level as a flight commander, as a squadron level, either as an operations officer or a squadron commander eventually. Plenty of opportunities there. Group commands, plenty of opportunities. And then we also have some wing commands that are ours as well. So Air Base Wing Commander, and in fact, our missile wings, the ICBM wings, just opened up and said maintainers can be the wing commander of those wings as well. So not many logistics career fields have that many wing type of opportunities. Pretty unique there. And then MAJCOM and joint staff as well. Like I'm sitting at the air staff, plenty of staff opportunities. And the joint staff is the munitions being a joint function. There's definitely a hunger and a need for officers in the joint arena. Okay, so just some pictures here that our team put together to show the different types of experiences. And as you'll see, most of it's just people focused. There's a lot of airmen that are doing a lot of things. And as a munitions officer, sure, you're going to learn the systems, you're going to touch the things, but that's not the primary focus of your job. Your job is to lead airmen and to lead organizations. And so you're going to learn these things because it's important to know. You're going to have to, go into meetings and provide recommendations. But ultimately, we're going to spend most of your time as encouraging your airmen and focusing on their development and making sure they have, what the officer's charter is to organize, train, and equip, to make sure they have the things they need and that their voices are advocated for in the right arena so that the right decisions are made at the right time. So in conclusion, I was going to conclude with my thoughts and then just open it up to your questions if you have any. So as you're determining ultimately what you want in your Air Force experience and your adventure, I'd first ask you to think about what is your quote unquote why. Some folks, they join with a desire to exercise leadership, to challenge themselves, to grow professionally. And if that's the case, if that's your why, I would ask maybe consider the munitions career field, because if you do, you're going to be thrust directly into that leadership experience. You're going to be asked immediately from day one to make decisions that are pretty vital to our national security, pretty vital to our wings missions. Basically right away, daily basis. If your why was more like mine, which was, hey, initially, I think I just want to serve, get some experience, do my part. But if I do choose to separate, I want to I want a job that gives me an opportunity. So if I do leave, I've got a pretty sick resume that will help me in post Air Force employment. And if that's your why, that's also an amazing why, and that's a good reason to be in the Air Force or to choose that path. And if that's your choice, I'd say also consider the munitions career field, because when you leave, if you leave, when you leave, we all leave, by the way, right? When you do, you're going to have some legitimate things to lean on. First, you're going to have a resume that says that you're an expert in operations management, because you're going to be able to say, I've led all these production efforts to support the different generations and requirements. You're going to be able to say that you're an expert in warehousing, because usually you're managing between 30 to 50 different storage locations, balancing both the square footage, the cube footage, and your storage locations, and also making sure things are segregated and kept separate for the safety aspect. You're going to say you're an expert in transportation, because the distribution of assets from where they're stored to where they're employed aren't always in fact, they're almost never the same. And so you've got to move probably what's one of the hardest things to move in the Air Force, which is class 5. They call it class 5, which is a class of supply, and that's munitions, because they're heavy, they're bulky, they're dangerous. And so you're going to have transportation engagements. You're going to be an expert in supply chain management and stockpile management, because munitions is its own supply chain. It doesn't touch, base supply. It's its own thing. It's standalone. So all of the requisitions or orders, all the dispositions, as in where does it need to go, and all the movements are all in-house. We manage that ourselves. You're going to be an expert in international logistics, or definitely have some acumen there, because each nation has its own rules with how you move things across their borders or into their borders, and they definitely have their own rules when it comes to munitions and explosive safety. So, and you have to get into those things and read those things and understand those things, or connect with those audiences to make sure they understand what we're trying to do. You're going to be an expert in human capital management, because ultimately that's what's the most important thing of what you do as an officer, and that's to connect with those airmen, those non-commissioned officers, and those senior non-commissioned officers, and make sure that they have what they need. Things break, but they come with tech data. People don't have tech data, right? They break in interesting ways, or they need interesting solutions or challenges or opportunities. And so that's where, you have to engage, be empathetic, be a good listener, and then also be able to make a decision and move forward. You're going to have some explosive safety experience, which not everybody gets. And like I said earlier, not many career fields have a requirement where you have to have a top secret clearance. So if you do separate and you have that with you, you're going to be one of the few with that. So that, like I said, that alone has many opportunities. So my last statement is, hey, munitions officers are in demand. Like I said, it's a joint function. So joint and operational planners are always asking, hey, I need a munitions officer on this planning team. I need to get some insights here, because here's what I'm trying to do. So if you're interested in having an opportunity to make immediate impact and have your voice really heard, I think this is just an opportunity for you to consider. So with that, I appreciate your time, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Cadet Metz from Detachment 250 at Iowa State University.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I was wondering, was this the first AFSC that you were interested in, or were you interested in others?
Good question. So originally, I don't know how it is anymore. It used to be you found out what you were going to be your junior year, back when I was in, and then you found out where you were going to go your senior year. Um, when I found out that originally they had me slated to be an acquisitions officer, and for me that was just something that in my mind I was thinking, like, I don't want to live in a cubicle kind of thing. So I asked if I could get record to something where you're outside and with airmen, and and my dad happened to be an aircraft maintenance officer, so I said just anything that gets me with airmen and those kind of those type of AFSCs. So your typical ones where you're leading big formations are like CE, security forces, LRS, aircraft maintenance, munitions officers. Those are the typical ones where, I mean, you're in charge. You've got a big deck, a big responsibility. And so when I went back and asked for that, they accommodated, gave me munitions officers, and I was thrilled. It was awesome.
Thank you, sir. One other question is, did you do any TDY opportunities?
Oh my gosh. Those maps that you can fill out like on social media to say where I've been? Mine's pretty ridiculous. And that it's just true. I mean, you saw where I've been stationed across the world, but also TDYs. I've been to Alaska, Guam. I've been to myself. I've been to Germany, Italy. I've been to Norway. I've been to Kuwait. I've been to all over the state, all over the states. Like last week, I was in Alabama. The week before, I was at Utah. I was at Hill Air Force Base. Yes, you go a lot of different places for a lot. I've been in California twice. Been to Nellis a couple times. It's just all over. So yeah, you do really have a lot of TDY opportunities. So if you like to travel, buy a good set of luggage.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Major Correa, I see. Are you online? I think I see you online. Are you online? Oh, maybe not.
I was muted. I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. Perfect. Hey,
Hello,
since we
sir.
have, hello, since we have time, would you maybe share briefly where you've been stationed and gone TDY, or perhaps maybe some thoughts that you have about the career field?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. I am Major Correa. First name is Nicole. Thanks so much, sir, for allowing me to hop on here and listen to you talk. So I am a 21M, similar to Colonel Connors, and I have gotten the opportunity to go to multiple locations, just like he has, as well as TDY, deploy, and PCS on multiple times. It's been a fantastic ride, and I've enjoyed everything about it, especially the airman piece of it. And to kind of foot stomp what Colonel Connors said, that's why I am and stay and continue to stay a 2-1M, is because the roles and responsibilities we have as a 2-1M are very vast and dynamic, and they continue to change, and they're just an amazing opportunity because you get to meet and work with so many different types of people. So where I initially started out at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas for my first duty assignment. And then from there, I went on to Louisiana, which was Barksdale Air Force Base. Um, and then from Barksdale Air Force Base, I was able to transition to Beale Air Force Base, which is the head of AFCOMAC, which is the Air Force Combat Ammunition Center, like Colonel Connors had mentioned. So I was the director of operations out there. And then from Beale, I came to AFPC, which is at Randolph Air Force Base. So I am the OAT, which is the Officer Assignment Team member out at Randolph Air Force Base for the entire 2-1M community. And so I get to see, interact, and just understand different mission sets that the 2-1M community has. And like Colonel Connor said, it is very vast. We have so many things out there that we can learn and develop on that it just affords a lot of opportunities out there. So just to quickly go back on where I've been and what I've done, when I was stationed at Barksdale, Louisiana, I also had the opportunity to be a aircraft maintenance officer, which is a 2-1A. And from there, I was able to deploy to Qatar, forward deploy to Diego Garcia, which is in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And then I was also able to go onto multiple TDYs to Minot Air Force Base to learn and understand their mission set, as well as go to Fairfield, which is in the UK. So much out there that I really enjoy being a 21 Mike Munitions Missile Maintenance Officer. Someone had mentioned and asked a question on, hey, is this your AFSC that you chose? I did not choose Munitions Missile and Maintenance. Maintenance chose me, and I stay because of the airmen. And I am so glad I made that choice because I've learned a lot about the community and myself. And so that's a little bit about myself. Colonel Connors, thank you so much for allowing me to hop on and tell you a little bit about my story.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. And the other thing I would add to the comments that we've collectively made is in terms of the portfolio, the one thing I forgot to add on there is space lift. And so we have airmen also at Vandenberg. We have airmen at Cocoa Beach at Patrick. And that's where we have that responsibility to oversee those that are building the things that go into orbit. So that's just another caveat or lane that some of our officers get an opportunity to do. I know you guys have questions, and it's perfect to do that. So if you do, we're thrilled to answer them.
I will also add on, I am joint spouse. So if there's any questions about joint spouse, my husband is a 14N intelligence officer. And so throughout our careers, we have been stationed together and it's worked phenomenally for us. So that's a little bit about an additional factor on myself.
Sir, ma'am, could you give some background on your perspective of work-life balance and what that looks like with a 21 Mike?
I would love to. So first, I would say is, if anybody tells you about balance, I think that's probably the wrong approach to think about, because it should be about rebalancing. If I say keep things in balance, in your mind, a lot of times you say every day I have to be in balance. Every day I have to equally do this and then equally do that. And if you're chasing that, you're going to be really frustrated with that, because there's times where duty calls, and I think we all understand that, right? There's times where you have to put your energy and effort into that work bucket, but when you do that, you have to be deliberate and purposeful to then rebalance that and be deliberate to schedule that time when you need to focus on your personal life or your family life. And I think there's some, I would say probably, 15 years ago, like basically dinosaur age, there was probably not a lot of emotional intelligence in the Air Force writ large, or something that could have been lacking. But I think the Air Force overall has been getting better and better and better and focusing on that. So I can see it, and I know that we focused on those things, and both you as the officer are going to have that responsibility to take care of your airmen, to make sure that if they've been jobbing and putting stuff in, that you're pulling them out and making sure that they're getting that rebalance. Or when you're building your schedule, you're making sure that you swing the pendulum the other way and communicate that up the chain on why that's needed and when that's needed. That's going to be part of your responsibility, right? On the personal level, I think there's absolutely opportunities where you can do. You're going to be asked to do the mission, and then you're going to have opportunities to take some time off. Depending on where you're stationed and what your major command is, I also know that a lot of commands have a lot of extra days they give you off, and every year you get a letter to say, here are the air quotes family days. And what those essentially do in practice is turn a lot of your federal 3-day weekends into 4-day weekends. And so on top of that, you have your 30 days of leave, right? You get to, and so yeah, I think there's a good balance, but you do have to be deliberate too, and that's something where you need to check on your wingman, and you need to have those conversations with your leadership as well. And that's just, that doesn't matter what your AFSC is, I think. I think that's just an Air Force thing.
Hi, sir. This is Cadet LeClaire. I have a quick question just regarding kind of bouncing off the work-life situation. What is your, I guess, like advice to those that want to go into this work field, especially when going right after training straight into the leadership of possibly over 100 people? What is your recommendation for those that might be a little bit nervous in doing so?
I think it's okay to be nervous. First, where are you at? What's your commissioning source? Where are you going through?
Yeah, I am Air Force ROTC at Iowa State.
Oh, also Iowa State. Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Well, good. I think first it's okay to be nervous because whatever job you pick, the Air Force, the active duty, the moving into that phase of life is a transition. And it's so, they say bravery isn't not being scared, it's being scared and going anyway. I think first trust yourself. As a lieutenant, if I could go back, the thing is you'll hear like, hey, you got the first step one is find your senior NCO and they're going to take care of you and those kind of things. And that's really, really good advice. And I still recommend that. But the other thing I would add is also trust your gut. Like, if it's not right or you're questioning yourself, ask the question, right? And the way you lead should reflect kind of you. Be genuine, don't be somebody who you're not, but also understand that as you grow, your leadership model and how you approach problems are going to change. Nobody expects you day one to stand in front of that formation and start, being General Patton and barking out orders. First, nobody works that way anyway, right? The point is you need to be humble, you need to be credible, you need to be approachable, ask questions, right? Those are the ways, like the old air quotes maintenance officer, capital M, both A's and like the old maintenance officer song is one of these things is not like the other. You're going to have, just by saying, hey, how come that one's not like that? Like you're going to find things that, are going to reveal themselves and you're going to make an immediate impact. So like I said, just trust yourself because you've studied, you've gone through the commissioning sources, and they're pretty good about getting you to think about things. But in the end, there's no tech data for being a leader, right? We can give you skills, we can give you things to think about, but it's ultimately about you solving problems, you listening, you being there for your airmen, you having the strength of character to ask questions. There's a way, maybe that's an offline venue and maybe on the side. Hey, here's what I'm seeing, sir, ma'am. Those are the kind of approaches that can be recommended. So yeah, don't be nervous. This is I don't know. For me, I mean, why did I even want to be an officer, right? Versus just enlisting or whatever. Like, that's a genuine question. And if your answer is I wanted to just lead airmen and I wanted to be the one to be given those challenges because I want to challenge myself and I think I can contribute to their lives and to our mission writ large, then this is something that I recommend doing because it's going to give you that chance right away.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good question, though, too. Thank you.
And I suppose adding on to what you said, how long do you think it took you personally to find your style of leadership? Because I know there's always, different types and everyone has their own way of leading people. How long did it take you to find yours?
I would say I'm probably still looking for it. You're never done. And because you're going to come up to new situations you never faced, you're going to encounter people you've never encountered before. You're going to be put into places and have to make decisions that, if you were to step back and say, am I ready for it? You're probably always going to say no. And that's you being human, right? And I think that's something that's just going to be always there. I think through your experiences, you've already done a lot of that on your own already. You've seen people that you've interacted with, and you're like, I like how they handled their business. You've interacted with people that you learn from to say, this is not how I'll handle my business. And so it's a never-ending pursuit to find your way. I think I found where I'm more comfortable in my skin. Probably in my second squadron command, to be honest. I think as a lieutenant, I fancied that the best way I could be a leader was to know all the rules. And I memorized all the Air Force instructions. And I probably was the most annoying person on planet Earth. Because, I'd be like, oh, sir, like the regulation says, and we shouldn't, like, oh my gosh. Like I'm surprised they kept me around. And then I probably spent a lot of time on thinking about ways to improve things, and I probably lost sight on the human domain. And then it wasn't until I became a squadron commander my second time where I think it clicked for me, and I really started to think about like the Air Force as like a summer camp where like all my airmen were like campers, and I just happened to be a camp counselor. Because in a camp, if you've ever been to one, you get these little challenges, right? You get the egg toss, or you got to make the boat out of cardboard and duct tape, and those kind of things. And the camp counselor really doesn't care about that egg, and they really don't care about the duct tape. What they care about is your growth as a person, your your interpersonal communications, your team dynamics, your leadership, your followership, and those kind of things. And those things they give you are just the, in literature they'd call it the foil they use for you to grow off of. And for me, if you look at your mission, the jet that needs to be fixed, the bomb that needs to be delivered, if you think that's the mission accomplished, then you've only done it until the next time that asset breaks or the next bomb that needs to be delivered. If you think of those things as just the foil you use to develop your airmen, hey, Staff Sergeant so-and-so, your mission today, would you believe it, is we've got to get this missile to the flight line in under X amount of time, and your resources are, you get 2 airmen, you get a tech data, and then you treat it kind of like that, then the mission gets done. It gets done, but the airmen feel engaged. They feel like they have some ownership, and you're playing the long game with them. And I think that's a lot more rewarding.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. What are you guys thinking at Iowa State? What do you fancy? What do you think? What's on your top? I know you get a chance to like redo your list, but what are you guys thinking about right now?
I'll go first. I'm pretty interested in doing developmental engineer. I'm majoring in aerospace engineering, but I'm exploring different options. I have a similar why to you, kind of looking to get my resume bumped up if I do choose to go more civilian sector once I do leave. But just exploring my options. That's why I wanted to hear from you.
No, that's good. I appreciate you doing that. Yeah.
If I can ask a question, because everyone makes mistakes, what was one of your mistakes and what was your way of rebounding from it?
I guess I should say I've never done one, but that wouldn't be true, would it? I think so. For me, oh gosh, I've got a litany of mistakes I've made in my career. I would say as a young officer, probably the first big mistake I made is I didn't trust my gut. So I was at a base and I was watching our unit be very good at supporting our training missions, right? And so in that regard is like just delivering the training munitions to the flight line, the training countermeasures. And I would say, golly, guys, I think we need to train on our wartime missions because, gee whiz, I think they're different and we should be good at those things. And I was kind of told by some of the leaders around me, hey, we don't got time. We need to focus on this. We don't, we shouldn't do that. And I accepted that answer, right? And I was like, well, they would know better, right? They've been doing it a lot longer than me, so maybe I'm just wrong. And I didn't put my foot down. And then the inspector general showed up and they had what we call an operational readiness inspection. And it's like a graded event, and they failed us. They said we weren't good at it. And that drove a lot of churn. Right now we have to do all this training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all it really took was just being deliberate and making sure we carved out time. So that's something that I wish I could have done better. And my recommendation as even a second lieutenant, that was me as a second lieutenant, is to trust your gut and make sure that when appropriate, even if the winds are blowing a certain way, you're the officer. You need to make that call, right?
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. What about you, Cadet Leclerc? What are you thinking about? What's on your list right now?
Yeah, as of right now, it's currently a bit of pilot and OSI. I'm a criminal justice and psychology major. So kind of just like looking at my options and possibly using my degrees with the OSI route. And then piloting wise, I am in training right now through the school, through scholarship on flying, and I find it really fun and enjoyable, and it's a really big learning experience. And so far, I like it, so I would like to pursue that a little bit more. But I guess just right now, kind of exploring my options, seeing which one interests me more and which route I would kind of want to go down.
Those are great picks, and I think you're not going to go wrong on either one of those. So that's good. What else? I'm happy to answer any Air Force questions too. They don't have to be 21M questions.
Where was your favorite base that you were stationed at?
Gosh, it depends. And that's not to duck out of the question, right? It really does, because what's going to make an assignment isn't necessarily where it's at. Sure, that can be a part of it, right? But it's also the people you're around. I enjoyed Misawa. That's kind of a remote location. It's kind of out, I think, farmland Japan and really north. In fact, it's the place that gets the most snow in the Air Force. I think 220 inches a year or something like that. But I really liked the sense of community. I liked my time when I was assigned at Shepherd Air Force Base because although, North Texas may not sound like the most appealing when you close your eyes and imagine it, it was a very deliberate work schedule. I was busy between the whistles, but, I went home at a regular time every day, had lots of free time. So that was a good experience. I liked my time at Seymour because that's home for me. The base housing was great. They had some good facilities there, running tracks, that kind of stuff, base pool, good stuff there. England was fun because I got to do a lot of European exploring. So that was fantastic. Unfortunately, COVID was then, so that really didn't make the time as I didn't want to take as much time or take as much advantage as perhaps I would have wanted to, but I think that's a unique global situation, not necessarily like the base. So they're all unique. So, you know, I think it is what you make of it, not to jump the question, but each base kind of has its own charm.
Thank you, sir. Which one of your assignments do you believe was your hardest assignment?
Probably Lakenheath, for a number of reasons. My last job, we were divesting the F-15C model. We were bedding down the F-35. Both of those on their own are a huge muscle movement. We basically cycled, meaning in and out, about 700 airmen off base to on base, plus a lot of military construction as well. And then we also had COVID, which was a high leadership chance because, you know, airmen were away. When you're overseas, you're away from family, extended family. Some of those airmen that live in dorms might be the first time they've ever been away from their family. A lot of airmen, you know, if you don't personally invite them out to go do things, there's a lot of folks that will sit in their dorm and play video games and all that all weekend, and that's not really great for mental health overall. So you have to do that engagement, get people out and involved. Also, the unit, you know, as a leader, had an individual take their own life and had to deal with that. We also had an airplane crash, and that's a human toll as well, where we lost a pilot. And so those things are high human engagement that you have to do because when those high emotional things happen, you know, when you have hundreds of airmen, you also have hundreds of opinions on what's the best way to handle that situation. But you only have a limited amount of decisions you can make. And so there's always risk there, and you're always trying to be deferential. And so it's definitely non-standard decisions you have to make, which helps you grow individually, but can also be, you know, stressful, right? So you just have to have a good network to help you and make sure you're focusing on you as well while you're going through those things, sort of the third eye on your forehead, right? To make sure you're keeping some self-awareness of what you're going through with those things.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Okay, Major McDonald, I think if that's the end of the questions, I think we could wrap up here. I'll just say kind of in conclusion, you know, as you're out and about and you're thinking about what you want to do, just ask maybe for you guys to consider 21Ms. It's not going to be for everybody, but it is for some folks. And what we found is when we talked to different cadets up to this point, we found that a lot of people just didn't know a lot about it. And like I said, I think that's in part of the fact that we're just not out in the commissioning sources. So when you do hear about it, you'll hear about it second or third hand from, let's say, one of your cadre members is security forces, or let's say one of your cadre members is something else. And that's not to pick on any career field, but they're sharing kind of a little peek of what they think they know or whatnot, or what their exposure was to it perhaps. And that's okay. That's just the fact of the matter that we're, you know, not there at your side right now. So I appreciate you guys taking time to hear about it. And anybody else who may be listening in, because I know this video may get posted as well. You know, if there's folks that are interested, hey, just consider it. Just think about it. Like I said, you're going to get some pretty cool resume notations stuff that's immediately usable on the market, and stuff that will make a resume be something attractive. And I think you'll also find some personal reward in being able to look back and say, I made a difference. I helped an airman. I helped a mission. I connected a dot. And those opportunities will happen on a daily and weekly basis too, especially at the tactical level, because you're firmly in the trenches with those airmen. You're firmly at the leading edge, and as you can imagine, every day is, like we said, is just something different. So you're kind of like a junkie. You solve a problem, you get an adrenaline rush, and then the door knocks, and you get a new challenge, or the phone rings, or you get an email. And so you get to continually have those experiences where you get the full gamut of emotional roller coaster. You're going to go, oh gosh, here's a challenge. What should we do about it? Here's a solution. Let's get after it. Busy, work, boom, job done, high five, adrenaline rush. And then it repeats over and over again. And so that's where, like I said, if you're looking to lead, if you're looking to have that experience where you can, when you go to bed at night, you're like, I made a difference and I helped. This is something that to consider, because you'll do that on a daily basis.
All right, one quick last question.
Sure.
What do you plan on doing after you're done with Air Force?
I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but I thought about, I think it would be fun. So a lot of people, when they get out, they have easy access to, not easy access, I don't want to but they have opportunities to get higher on at defense contractors. They get a chance to go do maybe a logistics company, right? They get a real chance to do those things. Raytheons, the Boeings, the Lockheed Martins, the UPSs and the Amazons. There's tons of jobs that people go do those kind of things. For me, I thought it would be just super fun to be like a town manager or something like that, where you get to engage with a community and really get to be a part of it. And that's something that, when you move around a lot, you look forward to. And then you'll get to, I don't know, be basically a squadron commander for a town. You have the sanitation department, the Parks and Rec, and you just make sure that they're doing what they need to on time, meeting the mayor's vision of what should be happening. I don't know, that just seems super fun.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this presentation for us.
Yeah, no problem. I was very happy to, and like I said, I'm very pleased to have the opportunity, because I know individuals have questions about it, and hopefully we've dispelled any rumors or bad news, or who knows what's out there, right? But at least get a chance to connect with you guys and those that may be listening in later to share what it is. And I'm always open if there's questions. Happy to connect with you guys and answer those.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.